What's up, everyone? Welcome to Now, Next, Never. I'm Nicole Casperson, and with me are my co-hosts, Delano Saparu and Zaid Admani. Happy Friday, everyone. We finally made it, TGIF. I don't know about you guys, but I've had a crazy week, so very excited to close the week with you all and have a little fun today.
Yeah, it's been a crazy week. There's a lot happening. Today we have a great show. Do kids care about personal finance? More states are starting to require students to learn about it, but are they going to stay awake in class? And then Morgan Stanley says crypto could be widely used as currency. Now, they've been bullish on Bitcoin before, but now they're talking about crypto as a whole. So we're going to discuss that. Delano.
Yes, and last but not least, we have Callie Cox back with us today, and she's talking about how millennials no longer have financial FOMO and why there's so much optimism in the market. So stick with us. And of course, remember, subscribe and hit that notification bell. Now let's get into it.
Millennial financial hope? Financial FOMO, no mo.
Nailed it.
Nailed it. Millennial gang, there's some good financial vibes going around. According to eToro's Retail Investor B survey, financial FOMO, no mo, for investors aged 18 to 34, i.e. everyone right now that you're seeing on the screen, I believe, 44% have started investing just within the last 2 years. So why are we getting into the market now? How are we looking at tackling investing differently? Let's dive into all of the details with our eToro super investment guru and all-around human millennial that helps us all become smarter every time she appears. Callie Cox, welcome.
What's up? What's up? It's so good to be here, Nicole, especially to top off the show. Wow, what an honor.
Yes, I know. Also glad that you are feeling better and back and better than ever. But let's dive in.
Yeah, okay, so let's talk about it. Yeah, so what Nicole said basically, we did this survey of 1,000 US investors, and the most striking thing we found, in my view, was the fact that younger investors, on the whole, feel more optimistic and more confident than their older counterparts. When I talk about younger investors, I'm talking about you and me. I'm a millennial. Chances are a lot of people watching this show right now are millennials as well. And it seems strange at first. I mean, millennials have been, typically the generation stereotyped with avocado toast and skinny jeans. We've been the generation that's scarred by financial crises, but it feels like, at least for some of us, we're coming into our economic power. So, I wanted to hop on here and just, give you a little pep talk, give you a little chat, especially because I look at the markets right now. The S&P is down 2%. It's not an easy time to invest. And you may be hearing what I'm saying and saying, that's not me. But, it could be you. It could be you. Everything feels crazy right now, doesn't it? It's not exactly an inspiring time to invest. I feel it, and you probably feel it too. The Fed's raising rates. Inflation is high. We're dealing with global warfare. Elon Musk is trying to buy Twitter off of Twitter. It's very weird. I mean, I get it. It's not fun. But you know what? I have news for you. You may have more power in the markets than you think. And this is the biggest takeaway from that survey data I told you about. I mean, first of all, we're young people. Time is on our side. You may be able to withstand more volatility than you think just because you have that longer runway if you have longer term goals. Yeah, we're in the middle of a sell-off, but time can be a powerful antidote to sell-offs, thanks to the phenomenon of compounding. The whole, snowball effect, gains on top of gains if you wait and stay out the course. Fun little stat for you. The S&P has gone through 32 sell-offs of 10% or more, like the one we're in right now, since 1950. But over that time, it's averaged 8% annual returns, which isn't too spiffy. It's the wrong way to say that. It is spiffy. I don't know. You know what I'm going for. And like I said, investing doesn't feel comfortable. You're taking on risk. I mean, naturally, you're putting your money into a market when the future is unknown and uncertain. That's the way it works. So I guess I say that to say, don't let the uneasy feeling discourage you. It's natural. Crises happen. They're tragic and awful. They can be blows to society. But society is more resilient and markets have recovered every time up until now. You just need to be willing to wait. And like I said, we're coming into our economic power. Millennials are the largest generation alive right now. The workforce is bending to our needs. I'm working from home right now. Chances are you're working from home right now too. It is your moment. And we've proven that we can move markets. I mean, look at the meme stock phenomenon of last year. So I say all that to say this. If you found yourself, in the moment where you're getting that raise, getting that new job, getting that new house, finding that new partner, I mean, heck, finding the best restaurant in your community. I mean, if you are making progress in your life, it is time to periodically reevaluate your budget, reevaluate your cash flow, and step out there. Don't be scared. Write down your life goals, make a plan to start investing so you can reach those goals. And that's my spiel about millennials.
I'm ready to run through a brick wall.
Yeah, oh my God. I'm like,
Coach.
can you just like walk
I get a
around
little
me every
passionate
day of
about
my
this.
life and like you
That
are
was
like
incredible.
the hype woman of like aspirational investing and just
But look,
being so positive.
Yeah, look, your friends
Yeah.
are investing. That's the other thing. The survey shows that millennials are stepping into the markets. You can do it. Your friends are doing it. Talk about it with each other. And I want to caveat too. None of this is investment advice. Like you have your own goals, needs, and personal risk tolerances and stuff. So I certainly wouldn't say go out and do this definitively. But feel comfortable in talking about this and really exploring this, and stay engaged even when it feels tough.
Even when inflation scaries settle in.
Yep. Investing is the most powerful antidote to inflation. I'm going to walk that one back. Investing might be the most powerful
Yeah.
antidote to inflation. The lawyers are pointing at me right now. But
Right.
look, if inflation is high, then like it's eating into your cash. You got to put your money to work.
Yeah.
Callie, I appreciate you being positive because we see so much negative stuff flying around like this and that, like millennials aren't savings rates. And to me, what really scares me though is the housing, right? The housing crisis. Because that's the part. I was very fortunate. I got very lucky when it comes to buying a house. I bought sub 3% mortgage a year and a half ago. Like probably timed it perfectly. Probably the best I've ever done it. But now it's really, really hard, right? Like high mortgage rates now, and then housing. I think that's the part that millennials, some of my friends that haven't bought a house yet, that are like in their mid 30s now having a kid, that's the stuff that they're kind of freaking out about.
Yeah, that's totally fair. Look, I don't want to make it sound like it's easy for everybody. Like these last 2 years have not been easy. And Zaid, I'm like you. I benefited from the luck and privilege. I bought a house about a year ago and got that sub 3% mortgage. It's not easy right now, and it's really sad to see, this economic power sort of slipping away with the housing market.
Yep.
But at the same time, I mean, do what you can, and don't sit there and make excuses. Just figure out where you have, this leeway in your budget. Figure out what you can do to make that extra income. Be proactive, because the system is turning in your favor. And look, I'm an optimistic person. I believe in society.
I love that.
What about the, I guess, changing like culture of investing, right? Like you kind of brought it up with GameStop, which obviously completely changed the game. But then you have like meme stocks and just like that Elon Musk impact, if you will, which can be both, as you mentioned, right? It's some of that is like, it's fun. It's a part of culture now, but it can be scary or feel uncertain as well. So that's just like another, I think, element that's on our millennial mind. At least it's definitely on mine.
Yeah, it's scary, but it also shows that companies are paying attention to the retail investor. For so long, they were concerned about wooing Wall Street institutions, and that's certainly still the case. But retail investors, at the force they've come into the market these past 2 years, have really made companies pay attention and really think about, how they attract the next generation of investors. And in the end, that's a good thing. That's more competition.
Mm-hmm. Amazing.
Yeah, no one wants to get GameStop again, right?
No.
Callie, I wonder, like, what do you think crypto plays into, like, what role crypto plays into this? Because I wonder, like, if a lot of the optimism from millennials comes into the fact that, like, okay, now we're not just relying on, like, the stock market or whatever. We have alternate ways of investing. We also have the rise of the gig economy and side hustles and whatnot. So I don't just have to, like, me personally, I wasn't just making income from my full-time job. I also had side hustles that I could make additional income from as well, which is probably the only reason I was able to afford the house that I did. So do you think that also plays a part into some of the optimism that we're seeing now?
Yeah, I definitely think so. And I think crypto is a great example of younger, newer generation investors building a system that works for them. I mean, crypto, we know it's not the perfect system, right? Like, I'm not going to come out and totally stand any kind of investment product. There are pros
Right.
and cons. But at the same time, the crypto community has shown that there are holes in the TradFi system. And,
Hmm.
the people have gone out and built a crypto system for themselves, a system that works and a system that's proven to be more equitable for different crowds and different demographics. One thing I will say too is that crypto is proving to be a little more accessible, and we're seeing that in our
Hmm.
data. There was actually a crazy data point in this survey. It showed that more investors ages 18 to 34 owned crypto than they owned stocks, which is just
Wow.
a mind-blowing stat to me. And it shows that crypto is becoming the gateway into investing. So, I
Yeah.
think there's something to be said for that, especially because for so long, investing hasn't been that accessible. Yes, you can pull up your phone and pull up an app on your phone and open an account quickly, and I'm certainly not saying go do that right now, but it shows that it's just so much easier, and maybe it feels more accepted to step into the crypto space.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if I'd be curious what that stat is like for Gen Z, because it's only going to grow, in my opinion. That's really interesting. Thank you so much, Callie, for joining us and sharing your wisdom. As always, really appreciate you. Big round of applause
We need
for
another pep talk
Callie.
next week, Callie, because this was
Honestly,
great.
Yeah.
yeah,
I'm
Hey,
so
I'm
hyped
here
up
I'm
for
right
like
it.
now.
sad to see you go right
Yeah.
now. I'm like I'm like, wait, but I need more hype. Yeah, our
I'm here for
resident hype woman for
it.
for investing. Thank you, Callie.
Thanks,
Amazing.
Callie.
Thank you.
All right, moving on to our first headline news of the day. So, mandated personal finance classes. Will teens even care about this? Georgia is set to become the next state to pass personal finance education legislation. So, we already have nearly half of our states with a similar mandate, particularly for high school students. But there's been momentum building for personal finance education becoming law in states because of the layoffs in the pandemic and because we have ensuing recession. But the big question is, will kids even care about this? Will teens care about this? I have thoughts about that and questions about that myself because I remember being a teen. We actually had a similar course like this. I don't even remember what it was called, but I do remember doing some personal finance balancing of checkbooks. But all I cared about was that I was going to be playing Friday night versus Champlin Park as a high school football player. And I didn't want to drop the pass to make us lose the game, or I didn't want to get blown by a receiver that got past me as a quarterback. Like, I didn't care about the personal finance, and that became my career. So I'm curious, Nicole, do you think that young kids will actually care about this at the age they are at right now?
Absolutely. There is a huge difference between when we were teens and the teens today. And a lot of it has to do with this guy right here and the GameStop stock surge. We cannot deny that, coupled with social media's influence, has completely changed the personal finance game. So let me throw some stats out there for anyone that doesn't agree. 5.8 billion views of personal finance videos on TikTok. I checked that this morning. And guess who is the largest demographic using TikTok on a weekly basis? 63% of Americans between the ages of 12 and 17. And that is according to survey findings from Forrester. Gen Z's personal finance confidence is low, however, but they're really hungry to learn. According to a survey by Greenlight Financial Technology, 3 out of 4 teens don't feel confident or knowledgeable about personal finance, but 73% want more personal finance education. And they're not as interested in having that on their social media platforms. They're interested in having that in school. Investing is top of mind, with 86% of teens interested in that. Nearly half of teens are learning about investing from social media, but like I said, they don't want it from there. They want, a real teacher giving them real advice, but they're just turning to social media because what other avenue do they have? That's like the best they can do. A lot of parents aren't understanding how to approach kind of this, I guess, new phenomenon of teenagers being interested in personal finance. And to top it off, institutions are paying attention. Fidelity launched just last year its Fidelity Youth account shortly after GameStop stock surge happened. And the platform is a place where teens are able to open accounts to trade US listed stocks, mutual funds, ETFs with no account fees or commissions. Of course, parents have to be involved and approve of it all, but still, like, an institution like Fidelity would not open something like this if there was not a demand or if they didn't see a viable future in it, in my opinion. So the answer is yes, in simple terms.
Well, look, no, I'm happy to see that these legislations are passing, and I hope that every state in America will have something like this. But I tend to lean towards what Delano was saying. I feel like kids that are in high school might, if they might not be as interested in like the class of personal finance, right? I'm not saying that they're not getting more interested in like finance and money, which is great, right? The more they learn this, the earlier they learn this, the less mistakes they'll make. But I feel like it also depends on like the circumstance, their teacher and things like that. I've had teachers that made history awesome and economics awesome. So I think it really depends on the teacher. I think the reason that a lot of times people turn to social media to learn stuff, whether it's finance or history, like I learned all my history from YouTube because it was way more entertaining. Shout out to Hank Green. So I learned all that stuff from YouTube because they were just better at teaching me, which is why I don't know if that's just because they're offering personal finance education in school, if that'll mean that kids are going to retain that information. I think it also depends on the quality of teachers. So I'm happy for it. I think we need more legislation, more education in it. Obviously, I'm a little biased because that's my career now at this point. But I just want to temper some expectations that, oh my God, not everyone's going to walk out of school becoming, just a personal finance expert or know everything about personal finance. I think a lot of times kids just kind of brush over that stuff just because, it's school and like, it's just, they might not be paying attention.
You make a good point. I think that there is going to definitely need to be an element of how to actually get teachers to educate in an engaging way, which is across the board, as you said, right? Like, I really hated math in school. I'm a writer, so like, but I guess maybe if my physics teacher would have made or geometry, whatever, any of those things, slightly more interesting or engaging, maybe I would have done better. I don't know. It's hard to say, but I can level with you there. But I think in short, they're interested. Will these legislations actually result in them having a better understanding? Maybe, maybe not. That's yet to be determined. But at least this is a step in the right direction to tackle the financial literacy threat that has been impacting America and the world for years.
Yeah, I would much rather have high school kids learn about personal finance education than like geometric theorems. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah.
All right. Moving on to our next story. Morgan Stanley now says that crypto could be widely used as currency, but should we care? So Morgan Stanley is now saying that crypto could be widely used as currency, and while they have been like one of the earliest, banks and financial institutions to be advocates for Bitcoin, I wanted to show you the history of Morgan Stanley's thoughts on the subject. Here we go. I don't know if we have audio for that. I don't know if the audio is playing, but on March 10th, 2014, their CEO thought that it was totally surreal and was actually critical of Bitcoin somewhat. And then literally 7 days later, they held a Bitcoin microfinance event. So they changed their mind. That's a great meme right there. Rose of the Titanic, just changing her mind within 7 days. So now they're starting to embrace crypto even more. First it was Bitcoin, now it's crypto widely. Look, guys, I don't really care about this story. I think the only reason we're even talking about this is because it's Morgan Stanley. It's a boomer financial institution, and I think the crypto community just wants to be embraced by them because that's just, I don't know, we just want to be embraced by legacy financial institutions, but they're not saying anything interesting. I think we've been hearing this same sentiment that cryptocurrency could be used as currency forever. So to me, this story is a nothing burger. But Delana, what do you think?
Yeah, Zaid, I agree. There's nothing really being said here that hasn't been said before. The biggest thing to me was their point. They had a chart about purchasing power increase over dollar, which obviously we were talking about inflation earlier and how people are losing purchasing power in all different ways. And now, obviously, with BTC price rising or different large cap cryptocurrency rising, but in this specific case, we're not advocating for purchasing, but we're just showing how people that are balancing those two things may be like, hey, maybe I will use some of my BTC or some other method for currency because I have a little bit of an advantage to save more. I have more purchasing power for something that I want. That was like literally the only takeaway. Other than that, like they're not saying anything that hasn't been said before. And there's this big push with BTC about like currency and there's still that dichotomy of like who's going to use it for currency and who's going to save it as a reserve asset. That's still being played out, Nicole, and I'm just like curious to see which way it actually swings.
Yeah, at the end of the day, to more of Zaid's point, the reason why this is remotely worthwhile talking about is that institutional adoption will help lead to that greater mass adoption of crypto assets that we all hope to see. So that's where this comes into play. Yes, Morgan Stanley really started the race for Wall Street banks to offer wealth management clients access to Bitcoin. They did that last March. They really put the pressure on competitors to follow suit and offer access to Bitcoin in similar manners. So yes, they, at the very least, they kind of like started this whole game and helped get more of that institutional adoption. But I do agree. I think that maybe we should get to the point where we don't just have these headlines of these older institutions saying, oh, we finally accept crypto for this reason or whatever. We got to move beyond that because that is getting stale. It's getting old, and we got to get to a point where they're actually putting more actions in place. And that is what should make headlines. And that's what should be interesting as opposed to like just dialogue. We got to move beyond just dialogue eventually.
Enough of these reports.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, Morgan Stanley, you're out here saying like you're excited or you want crypto or you think it could be used more widely as currency. Like, do something about it.
Yeah, no, I agree. So I personally don't care about it. So what, for Nicole, you don't care about the story?
I mean, no, I write about fintech, so I mean, okay, I guess I could care a little bit because we want that mass adoption. I will give it that.
And Delano, it's a no for you?
No, not at all, Zaid.
I agree.
Across the board. Amazing. Well, why don't we dive into the final stories, some of our favorites of the week or of recent times. What do we got?
I'll go first. It's tough being the streaming service these days.
Oh,
CNN Plus is shutting down. And if you didn't know that CNN had a streaming service, don't worry. A lot of people didn't either. They just launched like a month ago. And the crazy part about all this is they spent $300 million on the streaming service. Dude, $300 million. I could do a lot with $300 million in under a month, you know? So not the best ROI for these guys. Now, to be a little bit fair, their parent company, Discovery Warner Media, is going to try to use some of the content that was made for CNN Plus into their app. But regardless, this is a failure, and maybe it's a bad week for streaming services this week. First, the Netflix earnings, and now CNN Plus. I mean, it's just bad.
How much was Quibi? Do you guys remember? How much?
Dude, Quibi lasted like 7 months, and honestly, low key, I was somewhat bullish on Quibi. I was like, you know what? That's interesting of having like a short form Netflixy type service. Yeah. But I think they just launched at the worst time because they launched right before the pandemic, and then TikTok blew up, which kind of took a lot of their market share. So I think the Quibi idea wasn't bad, but Quibi even lasted seven months, man. And then CNN Plus lasted not even a month.
Kim Kardashian's first marriage lasted longer.
Oh yeah, so. I saw that on Twitter.
Oh man, tough.
All right, getting on my soapbox. So Elon Musk is saying funding secured. He said he's got the financing for his $4.6 billion bid to buy Twitter. So he's obviously exploring a potential tender offer, his attempt to bypass Twitter's board of directors. And he says he's got money. He's called up his friends at Morgan Stanley and some other big institutions. And he's also potentially secured some of this financing by his huge stake in Tesla. So this ongoing saga is continuing. Elon's not giving up. He's serious, it seems like, for his bid for Twitter, and he's got the funding secured, guys. It looks like he's got the funding.
I'm a little curious about that because I was reading about the story, right? And we probably should have made it a full story, but like, so I think he has $20 billion commitment from Morgan Stanley and one other bank. Yeah. Well, I think he's using his Tesla stock as collateral to get that money from those guys.
I believe so.
And then he's going to put up another $21 billion of his own money. Yeah. That's the part that confuses me, though, is like, where is he getting that extra 21 bills? Like that's not just like a casual roll up to your Chase account and like pull out 21 billion. That's how is he going to come up with that? Is he going to have to sell some of his Tesla stock? Like, I'm a little curious.
I'm assuming some Tesla stock, but that's speculation. So
yeah, no,
yeah. Don't want it. It could be anything. We don't have a crystal ball, so it could. You never know what his personal holdings are.
That's the part that I'm most curious. Maybe he has like 21 billion in Dogecoin or something. I don't know.
Forever curious about that one. Well, looking a little bit to the metaverse, which is really showing no signs of slowing down in development and expansion, as Mastercard filed 15 trademarks for metaverse commerce. From a finance perspective, this makes a lot of sense, since Web3 is a natural hotbed for future-facing DeFi innovation to grow and break new ground. Mastercard looks like they are trying to make sure they are one of the biggest payment processors in the digital virtual reality and augmented reality world, just as much as they are in the analog one. Their efforts seem to be focusing on NFTs like music and growth of virtual communities. And according to Bloomberg, the metaverse may be an $800 billion market. Clearly, this is just in its early stages and will continue to be a hot topic for some time.
I'm excited for when we actually know what the metaverse is and we're just all in there. I'm excited for that.
You've never played around in the metaverse? It's a ton of fun. Yes. You got to give it a go.
Too buzzwordy for me.
Oh my gosh. All right. Well, we're going to have to get a Gelato and Oculus at some point, or so that we can play Beat Saber together in the metaverse.
Yes.
And play around at some point. But anyways, that does it for our show today. Thank you so much for tuning in. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, hit that notification bell. Have an awesome weekend. Rest up. We will see you Monday.
Peace.
Bye.
Hey y'all, thanks for watching. Make sure you tune in every day. Also hit that like, subscribe, and notification buttons. We'll see you tomorrow.